Relationship with Bryant University. This university has been led by an individual who is dynamic, who's helpful, who has worked with the SBA in our programs. We're very pleased that our trade programs are sitting over at the John H. Chafee Center for International Business. So it's my pleasure to introduce to you, ladies and gentlemen, the president of Bryant University, the Honorable Ron Makeley.
Thank you very much, Mark, and thank you for your leadership with the Small Business Economic Summit this year. Governor Raimondo, Lieutenant Governor, General Treasurer, Speaker of the House, Senator Dan DuPont, we appreciate your coming here, being part of this as one of the premier business schools in the country now. We've been ranked as high as 5th for our undergraduate business programs in the country. We are delighted to use our academic intellectual capital to help the state. We and all the other public and private universities feel that we are an integral part of trying to make sure the state moves forward. So we thank all of you. We thank the senators and members of the House who are here. We know it is a difficult job to what you have to do, and we appreciate very much the work that you do. And Governor, we wish you and the rest of the general offices the best of luck as we go into 2016. As Governor and I were walking in, we were talking about the fact that we have to just continue to be positive. Moving the state forward, like moving a company forward or a university forward, requires hard work, positive attitude, and I think we have the governor to do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. We know that everybody is on a timeline, and I think the most important thing, and I had spoken to the governor, was to get the reports, to find out what's going on in each of the committees. And we're going to begin by the Health Care Committee, Ralph Capola. The assistants in the Health Care Committee was Steve Boyle, who's the president of the Cranston Chamber, and Melissa Travis, who's the from Health Source RI. Steve, where are you? Ralph, are you ready? Okay. And you're being timed, just FYI, so you have 6 minutes and you're on the clock.
Good afternoon, everyone. First, I'd like to thank the Governor, Lieutenant Governor, Secretary Magaziner, Chairman, and Senate Chair DuPont for taking the time to join us at this great event. So appreciate you coming here today. Secondly, I'd like to thank my committee because they worked very hard and they did a great job in helping us through this process. Lastly, I want to thank those who attended the meeting because the dialogue was absolutely phenomenal and we got really a lot of feedback from everyone. So basically we came out with our mission statement. So our mission statement is for the state of Rhode Island to create an efficient, low-cost, high-quality healthcare system that is the cornerstone of economic development. The business community feels right now that we need to get cost containment with healthcare because it seems like the harder they work, the more profits they're making, the less money they're making because a lot of it's going towards the cost of healthcare. So basically, we need to really focus on bringing the cost of healthcare within a place where it's not hurting economic development because it is doing that. Secondly, which we were going to ask the governor for this, we need a sole proprietor waiver. It's waiver 1332 on the federal level, and this is for the SHOP program because a lot of actually it's just not SHOP, but it would be the other programs, because any sole proprietor or company that does not have an enrolled employee, and this is something that Mark asked for, which is right there, does not have an enrolled employee cannot have business health insurance. They have to go to the private market. So the difficulty with that is if you're in the private market and you hire an employee, then you have to go back to the business market. If for some reason you lay off your employee, then you have to go back to the private market. So it gets very convoluted. So we've got to really focus on that. That's an important issue that we really need to focus on. Other things we need to really focus on is education, resources, and support to the small business community on purchasing health insurance and on the financial impact of the employees and themselves. We find that education is a real issue here as far as through the whole system. And the more educated that we can make the consumer, the person that is out there getting the health care, the more educated they are in the process, I think the more we'll be able to get control of some of the costs. And we would like to see more transparency on the costs for small businesses, consumers, and policymakers on the expenditures in the healthcare system. The healthcare system right now is really not very transparent, so as we move towards a period of transparency, which is happening everywhere in every industry, we need to see more of that in the healthcare industry. We need to see more transparency on costs, we need to see more transparency on outcomes, and we need to see more transparency on the cost to the individual employee. And the last thing we think, and this is a recommendation that we think may make sense, we need to see the Commerce Corporation involved more in the healthcare process because it is an economic development issue. It's an issue that basically, if a business is trying to grow and they need to make profits to grow, and that's how it works, I guess, if they take those profits and they're reinvesting those profits in the cost of healthcare, then they don't have the profits to put into creating jobs. So we really need to get some type of focus on how we're going to make health care affordable to the individuals and to the business community in the state of Rhode Island so that the business community can control their costs and ultimately take the profits that they make and invest them in creating more jobs and growing the economic environment in the state of Rhode Island. So those are the issues that we came up with. I'd like to commend everybody on the panel, all our leadership, for the marvelous work that they have done last year. It was just amazing the things that we're doing to move the state forward, and I've been in Rhode Island all my life. I'm proud to be a Rhode Islander, and it's very comforting to see that we're doing the right things to move the state forward. So my little expression is we need to become the biggest, we need to become the little state that could, and that's what I'm hoping that we do become. So thank you all.
That was great. That was a minute and 3 seconds less than he was allotted. So that's
Don't tell Matt to come back up.
that's always good. The most important thing, and again, welcome to all of our distinguished panel here. Governor, Lieutenant Governor, General Treasurer Magaziner, Mr. Speaker, and Senator DuPont. It's to get the feedback back to you. 280 people attended this summit today. The chairs have been working diligently in developing an agenda, and some of the issues have come up here today that weren't anticipated, but we feel that it's important for you to hear what they have to say. Our second presenter is Miriam Ross, who's dealing with Main Street. Come on up, Miriam. And a lot of the issues, Governor, that you put in the legislature adopted is some of the issues that came out of this committee last year. So, Miriam?
Thank you. Good morning. I'd like to echo my thanks to this distinguished panel. Really, it's always so important that our legislative leaders are here and our general officers are here to hear what we have to say and the great work that the committee. We had an incredible session this morning with the Main Street folks, and just by way of refresher, saying, Main Street is the place where our community meets. It's where we come together to live, work, and play, and eat. Eating is very important in this state. And it's the center for our social and cultural activity. And I, we all sort of chuckle, but, food has made us a destination. And so helping our main streets, where our merchants are located, our restaurants are located, is critically important. We've made great strides in the governor's program for streetscapes that's out there is huge for our communities. But we believe we can do more. We need resources. Our cities and towns need resources and leadership to bring together the talent and the ideas that they have, excuse me, to facilitate collaboration between and among government organizations, quasi-government organizations, the merchant associations, town administrations, chambers, local community and citizens groups, banks, all of those folks. Just by way of example, in our conversation this morning, new ideas were percolated and alliances made just in an hour and a half. We would like to see and make a recommendation that we have focused and dedicated leadership to facilitate and provide the resources and technical assistance that cities and towns need. We'd like to see that out of the Commerce Department, so that there's real dedication and focus in the effort to help our cities and towns bring to the table the things that are important to them and to help those businesses grow and thrive. We also have the second issue in sort of the Main Street, literally Main Street area, is the town and city improvement districts / areas. However they're denominated. Those improvement districts are fertile ground for economic growth and job creation, and the current regulations as they stand sort of restrict the creation of those types of districts based on population. And that negatively impacts many of our towns and cities because they don't meet that criteria. So we'd like to see if we can't take advantage of that type of legislation in a way that doesn't peg population as a criteria. The second issue, and going back to this business about food and that we like to eat, the United States has reached all-time high in craft breweries in 2015, and beer consumers continue and will continue to support and they shift to the local market. Farm to keg is thriving, and more breweries are growing literally in our state. Rhode Island has its own hops farm, and I don't know whether any of you are aware, but we also have the largest distributor of grains that are used for the manufacture of beers that happens to be headquartered in Cranston. So, yeah, yay team, right? But the problem is that our brewers face a unique challenge because they can't sell their products directly to the consumer. Currently, they can only give visitors up to a 72-ounce sample, and they can come to sample their beer. But this prohibition against self-distribution is not reflective of what the sentiment is in these days, and it impacts consumers, restaurants, farmers markets, and the growth of this very important industry. It will, if we facilitate our craft breweries, really increases revenue to the state and will create jobs and all of those good things that we know that are important. We would like to see, and the recommendations are that we take steps to foster our ambitious and forward-looking small businesses, and we need to remove the regulatory hurdles and enable our craft brewers to grow. It should come as no surprise that Rhode Island is the only state in the region that has these types of restrictions, and it puts us behind our neighboring states, so that we are losing business and losing growth to others. And as part of our tourism that's so important here, there are indeed folks who go from state to state to purchase craft beer and to come and sample it. And when they come to Rhode Island, they can't go home with any, save 72 ounces in what's known as a growler. So we'd like to clear the way and get rid of those legislative or regulatory impediments. It also, we would like to see sort of clear the way for access to capital, because to the extent that our craft brewers are inhibited from growing and they don't have the finances, their picture doesn't look right, they're not going to have access to capital. So we would like also to see an Alex and Ani law, as it were, for all, including our craft brewers. And those were the major issues that we addressed, and I thank you for your time.
As you can see, Governor, we're getting to the point, beer, and being able to buy beer.
Ready to go on tour. Seth is going to sponsor a tour.
There are a lot of issues, I think, that people don't realize that are impacted, and that's one of the reasons for bringing it up. We're going to go to Governor. I will pass this out. I will tell you that we did do a poll. Cap, when you're ready. Cap Willie, who is the chairman of the Tax and Budget Committee, his vice chair is Terry Montesian and Pablo Cabrera. They did do a poll, Mr. Speaker and Governor and Lieutenant Governor, on tolling. So I'm sure he is going to raise that, and I will give you the results. Cap will give everybody else the results.
we had a lively discussion. We have some regular attendees, and I had to give them dueling swords because they often disagree. So one of them had blue and one of them had red, but we did have a lively experiment. Okay. And I'm going to give this to the governor. May the force be with you.
This will come in handy negotiating the budget. Thank you.
So first of all, I want to make people aware of the importance of this conference and the session, especially in my session, the tax and budget session. Things that have come out of our session in the past are pretty impressive. We can talk about the creation of the Tax Policy Office of the Department of Revenue. The idea came from here. Corporate income tax reform, personal income tax reform, estate tax reform, increasing the direct expensing to the federal limits, removing the sales tax on utility costs, and some unemployment tax reform. All had their start in our group. And the important thing is you guys are listening and you're acting on our recommendations, which is important. We also recognize that not all of our recommendations have been acted upon, but it's a process. And I often explain in dealing with lobbying efforts in Rhode Island, it's the business climate. And I use my baseball analogy. We have to play good defense, hit a few doubles and singles, steal a few bases in order to make the playoffs. We all have heard that Rhode Island ends up at the bottom of a lot of the ratings on taxes and business climate. The perception often hurts us, but the perception, we've got to change that. As we work through the system, Governor Raimondo in her inaugural speech said that we didn't get into this problem yesterday, and it's going to take us some time to get out of it, but we have to do it piece by piece. Our issues. 2 years ago, we did substantial estate tax reform. We think we still have to push that forward. It would be great if we had enough revenue to get rid of the estate tax. And we have some dueling swords over here. There's only 14 states that have estate taxes, and yeah, there's a button on there.
Oh, all right. This is going to be fun.
If we don't have enough revenue, I think the next step is to look at the increase in the exemption and also exempting family farms and small businesses. And I don't think that's a big cost attached to it. I would have a 5-year clawback that said, you know, if you leave the state or you sell your business, we're going to claw back that estate tax return. But I think that's a next step that would be important to the small business community. Another issue that was important to us was property taxes. We're at the bottom of the rankings on property taxes. This is somewhat of a municipality issue, but there's some things we can do. We can standardize the appeals process and the assessment process. We could standardize, like Massachusetts does, the excise tax on motor vehicles. So we have your car is taxed at one rate, whether it's in Providence or in my town of Portsmouth. The differences are, and we also have to look at the tangible property taxes and the tiered tax system we have in the urban core. In Providence, residences are taxed at $19 per hundred, commercial property at $36 per hundred. Tangible taxes, personal property taxes, $55, and vehicles $60 per hundred. Huge discrepancy. The issue is businesses don't vote, so they're easy targets, but we have to do something about that to be competitive. We did look at some technical correction issues. We've done some reforms. I think we have some tweaking we need to do. Things like the state tax refunds. We shouldn't be taxing state tax refunds because we don't get any tax benefit. I didn't think about it when I put the proposals together first, but I think we should do that. We should give the tax administrator the ability to do tax benefit rules. Another thing we have to look at is our interest rate on past due taxes is 18%. That goes back to Carter. That's a usurious rate. I know we need to have an incentive to pay the taxes, but we're by far the highest. in the country on that. The one issue that struck a chord to everybody, and you're probably going to read about in the paper tomorrow, is the letter of good standing issue. We're requiring letters of good standing to do many more business transactions, and Rhode Island is a disaster when it comes to that. I get a letter of good standing in the state of Delaware. I get it in 24 hours. I get it in Massachusetts in 36 hours. I go to the Division of Taxation and hand it to them. They say, as a minimum, it's going to be 4 to 6 weeks, and sometimes it can be 4 to 6 months. Governor, I would say, this is something I would just say, fix it. I'm giving you a roadmap. Fix it. There's both statutory and administrative, but we have to fix it. It's holding back businesses, and I'll work with you on that. We did discuss the tolling issues. We did take a poll. The poll results, in just summary, 52% said our roads and bridges are in poor or very poor condition. 68% said the Department of Transportation is dysfunctional and we need to fix that. And I would say, before we give the Department of Transportation the amount of money we're talking about, I would set some benchmarks for them to tell us that they've actually reformed and get in order to take on that responsibility. 42% said they needed more information. So in spite of all of the information that's out there, there's still some question marks about that. 53% said that the tolling plan will have a negative impact on our economy, either somewhat or very negative. And there is, in the public, I think you're aware of this, is a general distrust of government. 65% think that the tolls would be expanded at a later date, and I think you have to get over that hurdle. So we look forward to working with you, and may the force be with you.
I never know what's going to happen up here, trust me. Mark Dion in Economic Development. And his vice chair is Bill McCourt, the president of the Rhode Island Manufacturers Association.
Thank you, Mark. Governor, I'm sorry I bring no weapons. First, I have to thank Bill McCourt and all of the people that attended the economic development session today. The conversation was refreshing and rewarding. I'm required to provide the insights and the recommendations that they provided. The panelists, you all have the recommendations that we developed from last year. I believe there were 13 with some articles that we thought were relevant. Most of those recommendations stand as continuing recommendations. The overall sentiment from the group today was, we all love our state. That's why we're here, and that's why we're making recommendations. We have some very easy and doable recommendations for the General Assembly and for the elected officers. I'll read them, but not necessarily in the order of priority. First, there should be an appointment of an independent inspector general who is required and empowered to review all agencies and to instill best practices of all other state, federal guidelines and to be used in the state of Rhode Island. We think that that should be an easy no-brainer. I didn't hear any laughter yet. We would like to see the reinstatement and re-empowerment of the Ethics Commission. We think this is critical. We think it changes the negative perceptions that have been going on for years and years and years, and we think if we're required as citizens and as business owners to maintain a level of ethics, then we think that we should hold our government accountable to the same level. Governor, you might want to hold your sword up for this one. We think there should be a line item veto for the governor with regards to the budget. We don't see a reason why that should not be in existence. We think that there should be a statewide coordination of all state resources available, including all of the resources and the regulations and requirements and resources of the 39 cities and towns. No business person should have to run from one city to another to find out what the differences are. No business owner should have to run from one state agency to another to find out what they are. This needs to be coordinated on a statewide basis. It only makes logical sense. With regards to the overwhelming number of bills that are entered or introduced into the General Assembly on an annual basis, it's mind-boggling. It is almost impossible for anybody to read the 2,000 plus bills and have any level of impact or insight or comment. We think that a majority of the bills really would be reduced if one of the recommendations from a previous summit was that any bill that's introduced must be accompanied by an economic impact study to identify the benefit or the lack of benefit for the state of Rhode Island and for its finances. Finally, and Kat mentioned the letter of good standing, and I recently went through this process between the Division of Taxation and the Secretary of State's office. I actually had to pay an attorney and hired an attorney and paid the attorney more than what was owed just to get those two documents filed. So we think that in terms of accountability and transparency, state agencies should be required to request that anybody that deals with them have the opportunity to participate in a SurveyMonkey to rate the performance of the agency that they just dealt with, and this should be made public and it should be transparent. Two final things. In terms of holding everybody accountable, the group agreed today that participated in economic development that they want to be held accountable for their recommendations and their comments to the general offices and the General Assembly. So they have empowered me to authorize Mark Haywood to transmit a list of the names and the email addresses and the company names of all the people that participated in the economic development breakout session today. And that should be transmitted to all members of the General Assembly and all general elected offices. Frankly, if we ask you for something, we should be willing to live up to the same thing, and that's what we're all willing to do. And the final mantra, and this is what came out of our group today: transparency, accountability, and a reduction in the cost of doing business in this great state. Thank you.
And on the bills, Governor, I actually have a bill that was introduced on my behalf by Rep. Ruggiero. That's because I'm going to perform a wedding. In the state of Massachusetts, it's an administrative function of the governor's office where you just go online and you fill out the necessary paperwork. You pay a fee, and then I performed a wedding in Massachusetts, but in Rhode Island, I need a sponsor for a bill. So that's just one example of that. No, don't do that, Mr. Speaker. That's an important bill. He's my godchild. He's my godchild. I can't get around this.
We'll see how this goes as to whether that bill passes. You may not be performing a wedding.
Okay. The Emerging Markets Committee is Oscar Mejias and Sandra Cano.
Okay, say welcome to the honorable panel that we have here today. Some people ask why the name of our group is Emerging Market. Emerging Market is a concept used in the financial area to define in a global economy those countries which are in development phases. We adapt that concept to our group because they handle some indicators that are common to our small businesses, which are growth, development, progress, jobs, and diversity. So we think that being an inclusive concept for different small business, for different groups, origins, and composition, we consider that is a perfect concept to globalize all that small business are in Rhode Island. So in our session, very beautiful session today, we identify several issues, or recommendations, I could say. The first one is we need that the authorities allocate more resource and funding to promote emerging market business in the state. I think that we brought this point last year, and it's not just about the Small Business Administration, a Small Business Week in the year, not was just one time per year. So we think that it's necessary to continue to allocate funds to promote in different levels in different cities. Additionally, we feel the need to allocate resource and funding to implement cultural competency training for state and municipal agencies. When we talk about diversity, we don't talk just about the language. It's about the culture. And sometimes in different cultures, there are different ways of thinking and there are different ways to understand. So it's necessary that the people who work in the different agencies, state and municipal, have a little bit more knowledge about cultural competences. The second point that we bring here now is to create business information centers, kiosks, in different language at the municipal state agency that encompass all emerging market interests. We know that there are several initiatives. We know that the Commerce is working on that. We know about the Secretary of State has a website with information, but not everybody has literacy in using computer and using technology. So we need physical kiosk centers where the people, the small business owner, could reach information, even could have a mentor or someone who can redirect in the direction that they need to be. Sandra.
Thank you, Oscar. So I'm Sandra Cano, and I was the co-chair. And another of the points that were brought up in our committee was that there needs to be a lot of prioritization when it comes to the communication between the state and municipal agencies to connect the small businesses in regards to licensing, permitting, and regulation by streamlining the cumbersome bureaucratic process that they have to do. And it's good that you mentioned, a couple of committees mentioned the letter of good standing, because that was also brought up in our committee with the Division of Taxation. The city and the state don't communicate to help the business to get that letter of good standing. So that was brought up in the committee. In addition, we need to establish more business connectivity by holding not only a business week with the Small Business Administration, but in each of the 39 cities and towns during the year. So at least one in each one of the 39 cities and towns. One Small Business Week to promote the emerging market businesses. The fourth point is actually to improve technology at the state and municipal agency to ensure that the payments to small businesses and subcontractors are made in a timely manner. This was actually brought up last year again. It has been some improvements, but not in all the agencies across the state. So it is important that these small businesses and subcontractors get the payment in the timely manner. And another point that was brought up was in the area of education and financial literacy. We feel that there needs to be additional funding to provide credit education training using that trusted advisors in this market would be such as churches, community-based organizations, by partnering with the state and federal nonprofit organizations such as the CWE for technical assistance. So we need to get more funds to them so those trusted organizations partner, and then we could help them with technical assistance. And last but not least, currently our state has a lack of data while we were doing research for the emerging market, we didn't find a lot of information when it comes to small businesses with the diverse different communities. We only found little here for Hispanics and maybe for the Asian community, but not a lot. So we advocate for the state to actually have more investment when it comes to data support and collection for those resources and programs, so that would help the emerging market be more successful. And we also want to actually add to that the veterans and disabled veterans, Asian and African American communities don't have data available in our state. So in order for us to help that buying power that we have, we need to provide that data to organizations that are outreaching to the emerging market communities. So with that, I'm going to be closing, and I'm going to close with this quote that our group actually thought it was important for today, which is diversity, the art of thinking and independently together. And that was by Malcolm Forbes. So the art of thinking independently together. So thank you so much for your attention, and thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Governor, and Mr. Speaker, this is your favorite topic, regulations. Gary Zofsky, who's chair, his vice chair is Ron Caniglia, and his other vice chair is Leslie Tato. I think they're both here. And you have 5.5 and a half.
5.5. Lost time. Chairman, Mr. Speaker, Treasurer, Lieutenant Governor, and Governor, thank you all for being with us. It's only great that we saved the most exciting piece for last, isn't it? The most interesting, the least boring, regulations. Oh well. Let me start first by saying how much we appreciate the regulatory achievements that we've realized in the last few years. Listing them isn't a good use of my 5.5 minutes, but citing why we made progress is a must. A few years ago in our recommendations, we said government had to be faster. In the session that followed, it was obvious that members of the House took some action to reduce regulatory burdens by establishing ORR and to get government moving at the speed of business. Thank you. And 1 year later, after we said let's move the needle on a lot of these nationwide surveys, the Senate made moving the needle a major theme of its legislative session. Thank you. Even better, 2 years ago when we said there was something special going on in Worcester's Technical High School that we thought decision makers should see, Speaker Mattiello himself made the time to check it out. Thank you. Finally, just last year, when we said lean process management had to become entrenched in multiple state agencies, Governor Raimondo made it a hallmark piece of her plans. Thank you. So we have made steps with intent to make Rhode Island better on many levels, and I think the biggest reasons we've been able to achieve a pretty good list of accomplishments is because great people in our government are listening more closely than ever as we try harder and harder as a business community to make our needs clear. And that progress is great because despite our achievement, we still have a mountain of work ahead. We are still not fast. It's taken 5 years to get even close to issuing, accomplishing a electronic building permit system. More recently, we've lost a lot of time in trying to improve the minority certification process, and we need to. I know that we're on the way to fixing that, Cheryl, but we have to be fast. Government moves fast. Business moves fast today. We need government to move fast. We still have these needles to move, and we've created a few leaned out departments or two, but we still have a long way to go. As we continue to make our concerns known, we have no intent to be naysayers. We in small business are dedicating to doing the hard work needed to remove that mountain, because really, if not us, who? And if not now, when? Our regulatory priorities this year, and it's hard to say that these are in any order of priority. They are issues that we concluded in this session, and it was a great session. I want to thank everyone again, and my accomplices, Ron and Leslie, for their unending support and hard work. We need to see interdepartment management. I mean, the Projo piece that was in recently got a lot of attention. I'm not sure all of that is great, but it does say that when people do work together, things happen quickly. That's what we need from government. So we need a culture of efficiency and cooperation. Lean initiatives are key. They are our hope for so much future progress. Commerce programs like ACT and STAT are great. Work together. It's really not, rocket science. Put agencies like CRMC and DEM together as one was a wish from our group today. But the essence is to eliminate conflicts between departments so businesses can move through the process and accomplish compliance readily. That should be everybody's objective, compliance. Labor management is another issue. Our state has a brand in labor management that is not attractive. We need to stop dividing and work to multiply. Project labor agreements and irrational apprenticeship ratios are not the economic architecture of the future. Let's not restrict employment going forward is the plea that we make to you today. Letters of good standing, have we not heard enough about that? But it's in ours too. And I was encouraged to hear Director McCleary just whisper that there might be some simple solutions. And I'm not surprised to hear them come from him. These issues should be low-hanging fruit that stop complaints from so many people. Let's remove the outlier status that we have in TDI and UI. And we know that the director of DLT is working to change ratios and has that. But we're one of only 2 states. Do we really want to be that? Is that important? We need to look at those issues. And then finally, energy, energy, energy. Keep working to encourage new sources of existing energy resources as well as future energy sources. Petroleum cost has dropped, but peak energy burden still looms. We need to expand our supply avenues as we see older supply resources going offline. Those are the specific issues that our regulation session brings to the table today. It's fair to say that they're consistent with our continuing objective to make Rhode Island an easier place to do business, whether it is in our state agencies and municipal offices or our regulated utilities like grid. Efficiency and cooperation are critical elements to that objective. Just again, look at that Projo piece and how quickly something could get done when people just talk together. That's why we're here, and again, we say thank you for you to be listening to us. As DBR Director McCleary has opined in one of our meetings with him, regulators are economic architects. I love that term. I thank you for putting it on the table, sir. If our regulations encourage cooperation and provide efficiency for both the regulated and unregulated, then we all succeed. Not one side of labor or the other, not D's or R's, not one race or another. We all succeed. Let's continue our work to empower our government and insist that the age-old excuses of no people and computers stop. The economic architecture of yesterday has failed Rhode Island. It is our task to work together to design a great future. Again, if not us, who? If not now, when? In Rhode Island, the word and the letters TEAM need to mean together, everyone achieves more. Thank you.
And the last committee before we hear from our principals, Marianne Shalcroft-Smith, Workforce Development.
Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome, dignities, and thank you very much for your service. John Gregory and I co-chaired Workforce Development. I want to thank the 40 people who attended. They had a lot of absolutely wonderful ideas, great highlights, and I'm going to give you the recommendations that came from that committee today. To begin with, we really feel there should be some type of forum for all educational systems where they can come together, whether they be charter schools, mayoral schools, private education, public education. They all can come together and connect the positives idea and build as a team in all educational aspects. Someone at the subcommittee today shared about a Yale University study that I'm an early child educator. I was shocked that there are 3 times more expulsions in preschool than there are in high school. So if we all have that, we come together, we'll share ideas. If we can start expulsions in preschool, maybe we won't even have less than in high school. Very interesting. Business and education coming together. Someone shared in our committee about a construction job site. People coming to the work in constructions, ready to learn, ready to work, and the businesses reached out and told the educational system what they needed to teach the students before they came for construction job sites, and that's now smooth railing. So we should be able to do that in many, many aspects too. Another process that came up was hiring adults with disabilities. There's still barriers to that, and people were reaching out, as well as hiring people who are formerly incarcerated. We found out today there's an insurance that Rhode Island has for anyone who wants to hire people who's incarcerated, because insurance to back you up, which I thought was very interesting. This spent I wanted to bring it to the table. This spent a lot of time on our committee on internships, getting students involved in internships, maybe finding a way to pay them. We found out there was a tax credit. Also get employers on board, find resources so we can get the students there. If we have to get them bikes so they can get there after school, make them. Someone also shared they're paying after school kids to come to after school programs to come in and work through enrichment programs. Just a stipend, but it gets the kids there. We realize if we get students involved, they learn to arrive on time, they learn to dress, they learn all the social skills. So having internships involved in businesses is a real goal for everyone. A very important piece that came was media exposure. Businesses need more media exposure. If you can get the opportunity, get the media exposure, take it, and really, really share your positive stories. We all agree. We all have absolutely so many positive stories to share. And also, when you share your story, always come up with a solution. Don't let it hang out there. Come up with a solution and give us some ideas that we all can work on with the media exposure. The last thing I want to share is, it came through Representative McNamara, there's a new program called College Unbound. It's for students 21 years and older who started college, did not finish, and left credits on the table. They're organizing it. You can go on the website for College Unbound, and they're giving out scholarships for a free college education to pull that together to help the students pull their credits that are out there together and get them a college education, which certainly will be great for our workforce. Thank you very much for being here today. We ran out of handouts, and I have them right here at my seat if anyone needs them. Once again, thank you very much for your service.
Thank you very much. Governor, Lieutenant Governor, General Treasurer, Mr. Speaker, and Senator DuPont. All of these people are here of their own free will. Some of them paid. Director Jensen, maybe not. But the most important thing is this is just the tip of the iceberg. There will be reports that we will provide to all of you on all the issues that have been raised by the committee. We wanted to at least have you get a good handle as to what they're working on. But these are small business owners, and we're very proud of the fact that 7 members of the Senate were here, 21 members of the House are here to engage with the small business community. I think that's important. I started this 9 years ago for a purpose. When I served as a councilman and mayor of the city of East Providence, it was important for me to hear from the community, the business community, any community that felt that they had an interest. And the only way that we're going to resolve issues and become better is when we talk. And I think that's critical. So on behalf of everybody here, we thank you for being here, and we'd now like to hear from you. Ladies and gentlemen, Her Excellency, the Governor of the State of Rhode Island, the Honorable Gina Raimondo.
Thank you. Well, thank you all, and thank you, President Makeley, for hosting us. You have done an extraordinary job here in the 20 years you've been here. It's an unrecognizable university, and that's a great credit to your leadership. And thank you all for being here. I have to say, the force, I do like this. And my 9-year-old son is going to love it, so I really appreciate it. But the reality is the force is you. The force is this. The force is the community coming together to say, we're in this together. We all care deeply about Rhode Island. We all have a huge stake in getting this right. And everybody's counting on us to work together and be collaborative, get things done, and move forward. And so thank you. You know, you're the force. You show up every year. You're not here to whine and complain. You're here to offer us constructive, concrete ideas that we can act on together and get things done. So for my part, I'm optimistic that we will continue to move the ball forward. I stand by what I said. We didn't get here overnight. We're not going to get out overnight, but we got to make steps and work with urgency every day. And every single one of you has a role to play. As for the folks up here, I can only thank all of them. The Speaker and the Senate President and Chairman DuPont have been phenomenal partners with me. We got a lot done last year. We're going to get a lot done this year. Treasurer Magaziner and the Lieutenant Governor also, we're all on the team. Don't always agree, not always going to agree. We don't have to. We have to get things done, and that's what we're doing. So I'm also grateful to you guys for being so terrific and for being deeply committed to Rhode Island. Now, here's what I'll say. Today's about listening, so I'll be very brief, and I loved the reports, and I loved listening. You should know you've been listened to, and I think many of you, Cap and others have gone through it, but working with the General Assembly, just last year, I came to last year was my first year coming. I think I came maybe during the transition there was one, and then the first one. But anyway, we listened, and I know the Speaker's been here and has listened many times. So last year we eliminated the commercial sales tax on commercial use of energy. That's a great step forward. Gary talked energy. Cap talked about making it easier and cheaper to do business. We took action. It's a big deal. It's putting pockets in the business, it's putting money in the pockets of business and moving us forward. We also here bring down the cost of doing government. Last year, and this wasn't easy, and I have to give huge credit to the House and Senate, we put through a reform of Medicaid, saved almost $90 million for the people of Rhode Island in the first year, and it's going to save even more next year. You want to see lower costs? You want to see lower taxes? I'll tell you how to get there. Lower the cost of doing government. And we did it in a way that was humane. We didn't cut anybody off the rolls. We changed the way we're delivering health care. We listened to you. We're getting that done. I heard a lot from you last year and over the year around skills. I hear an earful about this every time I'm in the business community. Some of you are chuckling. Governor, first, I'll tell you a little story. The first day I took office, literally, the day after my inauguration, my phone rings. It's a senior executive at one of our big companies. Hi, Governor, congratulations. We have a problem. I'm like, all right. I'm like trying to find the bathroom. He says we have a problem. I said, tell me what's the problem. And by the way, just one? That's good, one problem. Anyway, he said to me, we want to add jobs in Rhode Island, but the way you do labor and training is disjointed. I don't know who to call. I have to call too many people. It takes too long. You're not moving at the speed of business. And this plant had an operation in Connecticut. And he said, look, we want to add jobs here, but we're very happy to go to Connecticut because we have to move. I think we've done that, and great credit goes to Director Jensen and his team. And many people in this room have stepped up. We've started a whole new program called Real Jobs Now. We've raised $15 million of money from the federal government for apprenticeship programs. That same executive, I ran into him in October. He said, Governor, it's like night and day. There's a sense of urgency. We are going to add those jobs in Rhode Island, not Connecticut. Thank you for being responsive. So we have a ton of work to do, but the way we're doing skills is completely different than we did a year ago. We're putting the business at the center. We're making it demand-driven, and we're being directly responsive to the needs of businesses, and at least so far, the feedback from the community is very positive. So now, where do we go from here? As I've said a million times, there's no silver bullet. There is no silver bullet. There's not a silver bullet when you run a business. There's not a silver bullet here. We've got to execute every day on a lot of things, and over time it'll build up. You didn't build this university over 20 years with one silver bullet. It was a strategy and executing, and that's what we're going to do. I think we have to stay focused on high-wage, high-skill jobs. High-wage, high-skill jobs, and also on innovation-based jobs. Every economy in America that is vibrant, and most especially and including our neighbor 45 miles to the north, has figured out how to unleash the high-wage jobs that come out of colleges and universities, R&D, innovation, technology, and healthcare. And we have to do a better job of that. And some of that is skills, some of it is making it easier and cheaper to do business, some of it is partnerships, but we have to move there. I would say I agree with almost everything I heard today. I think they're great ideas. I took a lot of notes. I pledge to you to take action on it. I work every day with the General Assembly to do that. The hard part for us is how do you prioritize, right? What do you do this year? What do you do next year? What can we get done? And so, again, I think they're all great ideas. On taxes, I believe our biggest problem is property taxes. Doesn't mean we shouldn't look at estate taxes. Doesn't mean we shouldn't look at other taxes. We have a real problem with property taxes, and we have to figure out what to do about that. I want you to know this. I can take no credit for it. Some of the people on the stage can. Every time the leaders of this state have touched major tax policy in the past 15 years, it's been to lower taxes. You should feel proud of that. You should feel proud of that. So we are, we're on a roll here, and I think we ought to keep going on that roll. But of course, balanced against that is we need to invest. We need to invest in our infrastructure. Our schools are falling apart. Our roads and bridges are falling apart. We need skill programs. So it is that constant balance. But at the end of the day, I look at my job as to increase our median income and in some ways to decrease our median age. We need to keep young people staying in Rhode Island. I want them to graduate from Bryant and stay in Rhode Island and work in Rhode Island. Seth's helping us on the panel, by the way.
That's why he's going on the beer tour. We're going
Seth's helping on us on that. We're going to stay focused, making it easier and cheaper to do business in Rhode Island. We're going to keep doing that, and I don't want to speak for the Speaker of the Senate, but I think we're all aligned on that. We're going to move forward on that. We're going to keep our eye on making it, reducing the points of friction with government. I'm right there with you, making government move at the speed of business. We're doing a lot with lean. We're going to keep going at that. And we're going to stay focused on making sure we unleash an innovation-based economy here so we can crank up people's wages. Working 24/7 should be a phrase, not what you have to do to make a living, right? You shouldn't have to work 2 or 3 jobs to make a living. You ought to be able. We need more family-supporting jobs in this state, and I'm going to tell you, we're going to get them. You, me, Speaker, Senate President, working together, we're going to do this. We already are. But I'll end by echoing what Ron said. We have to stay positive. Have to stay positive. Let's focus on all the good. Focus on the thousands of jobs this economy created this past year. Focus on the good work, and then build on it and keep going. We're in it together, folks. We are in it together. It's not whose ideas are better. We're either all going up or all going down, and I think we're going up. So thank you for your support. Yeah, that's ominous, Joe, but it's reality. We're going up. We're on an upswing. We have begun our comeback, and because of your efforts, we're going to continue that, and we're going to make Rhode Island a place of prosperity and opportunity for everybody, leaving nobody behind. So I can't thank you enough, and I'm just going to get back to work and keep on going. Thank you.